Today, we're diving into a pretty radical philosophical guide, one that promises a path to absolute, total freedom. So let's get right into it. This is The 8 Natures of a Celestial Being.
So, let's start with a huge question, one we all probably think about. What does it actually mean to be completely free? And I'm not just talking about money or politics, I mean really free. Free from worry, free from attachment, free from all the pressures of the world. What does that even look like?
Well, a fascinating text from a writer named Shay Feng offers a very specific path. It lays out this idea of ultimate freedom by embodying what it calls the 8 natures of celestial beings. Sounds pretty grand, right? So let's see what they are.
We've broken this whole philosophy down into a few parts to make it easier to digest. First, we'll look at the inner world. That's all about the mindset of letting go. Then we'll move to the outer world, which is more about the practice of detachment. And finally, we'll see how it all comes together in the embodied life before wrapping things up.
All right, first up, the inner world. You can think of this as the foundation. It's like the internal operating system you need to install to even begin to access this kind of freedom.
The very first principle is, well, it's a big one. It says to follow what is predestined and leave everything to fate. Now, this is about radical acceptance. It's about letting go of that deep-seated need to control every single outcome and instead just trusting the natural current of life.
And what I love about this is how real it makes the idea. This isn't just some abstract concept. It means being genuinely at peace, whether you're staying in a 5-star hotel or a little thatched hut. Whether you're eating gourmet food or moldy leftovers, wearing fancy clothes or torn rags. It's about accepting whatever life throws at you without judging it or fighting against it.
Now, to really get the next principle, we got to quickly touch on a key idea, the Tao. In this philosophy, the Tao is basically the natural order of the universe. It's the source of everything, the ultimate current that guides all things.
Which brings us right to principle 2, do nothing and allow all things to happen through the Tao. Now, this doesn't mean just sitting on the couch all day. It's more about surrendering your personal plans, your ambitions, your ideals, and trusting that nature, the Tao, will arrange everything exactly as it's meant to be. It's about getting out of your own way.
And this quote just beautifully captures that mindset. The source says that all our frantic efforts, all our worldly goals, they're as temporary as dreams, illusions, or bubbles. The whole point is to stop chasing these fleeting shadows and instead just align yourself with the reality of the Tao.
The final principle for our inner world is to possess nothing, and in doing so become totally unfettered or free. And this isn't just about physical stuff like money or a house. It also applies to things like your reputation, your relationships, even your most deeply held beliefs. This quote right here really hits home why this is so powerful. I mean, think about it. If you truly own nothing, you have absolutely nothing to lose. You're free from worrying about getting robbed or being insulted, or even from the fear of death. All that anxiety just melts away because you realize everything is just a passing cloud. Okay, so let's move on to our next section and see how this all connects. We're now shifting our focus to the outer world. This is all about how that inner philosophy we just talked about actually shapes your actions and emotions when you're dealing with the world around you. So here the text draws a really important line in the sand. On one hand, you should always be merciful, but on the other hand, you must not become attached. Affection, in this philosophy, is seen as a kind of chain that ties you down and actually limits your freedom. It's a really tricky balance to strike.
And that leaves us to what is maybe the most challenging principle in this entire text. Feel no mercy or pity, but be natural and unrestrained. I know, at first glance that sounds incredibly cold, maybe even cruel. But there's a very specific meaning behind it.
So here's the key difference. It's not about being heartless. It's about acceptance. The text argues that wasting your emotional energy on suffering that you can't change, like a lion eating an antelope, is completely pointless. So no pity here really means recognizing the natural order of things for what it is without getting emotionally tangled up in it. Okay, so we've got the inner mindset and the outer practice of detachment. Our final section, the embodied life, is where it all comes together. This is the art of daily living. So how does a person like this actually, live their life? So how do you act? Well, the text boils it down to 3 core behaviors. First, be limitless. Do what you choose, as long as you're not hurting anyone. Then, be flexible. Adapt to things as they happen instead of clinging to old rules. And finally, be non-contentious. That means letting go of the need to compete for money, for power, or even for the need to always be right. And this even extends to the people you hang out with. The advice is pretty clear. Surround yourself with positive, open-minded people who bring joy and freedom into your life. And on the flip side, it suggests avoiding people who are constantly complaining, overly ambitious, or who try to tie you down with needy, codependent affection.
But you know, this freedom isn't supposed to be some grim, lonely existence. It's actually described as having an elegant demeanor. This person is cheerful and funny. They enjoy culture, music, art, things like that. They have practical life skills. And they carry this light, joyful energy that actually helps other people forget their own troubles. So they're not just free, they're a joy to be around.
So, after going through the inner world, the outer world, and the embodied life, what does this all really add up to? Let's quickly recap this whole journey.
We've explored these 8 natures, which, when you put them all together, create a complete system for living a life of profound peace. And at its heart, it's really a 3-part journey.
When you break it all down, this whole path is really a 3-step process. It starts inside with the inner world, a philosophy of just letting go. From there, it moves to the outer world, a practice of detachment. And it all comes together in the embodied life, the actual art of living with joy and without conflict.
And that leaves us with one last, pretty provocative question to chew on. Is a philosophy like this, one that advises against strong attachment and even pity, a true path to ultimate freedom? Or is it just a path to total indifference? That's something to really think about. Thanks for tuning in.